a kind of strange little zombie film from Australia. It's a 2014 movie, and a lot of people kind of have described this as a zombie film kind of meets Mad Max, because I guess you could say was already done to a certain degree with kind of Land of the Dead, but this is a sort of slightly different sort of take on your kind of traditional style zombie films. Now, it's a difficult film to really tell you too much about without kind of giving away sort of spoilers, and I really don't want to do that because it's definitely worth seeing this film. But to give you a very sort of like sparse plot synopsis, it essentially has two concurrent sort of storylines that kind of dovetail into one in the sort of the last act of this movie. The main plot really follows a group of survivors as they kind of traverse the landscape, as they're sort of trying to deal with this kind of initial outbreak, and we see some perspectives of different sort of characters. And basically they're kind of having to deal with the zombie attacks and really sort of try and form this kind of like loosely knit sort of team and trying to kind of, you know, defend themselves and get to kind of like a safe area. The differences with this kind of movie is that the zombies have some unique properties that are kind of different. So without kind of going into too many kind of spoiler details, they'll kind of be a bit more active at night than they are sort of during the day, which we have seen actually in the game Dying Light, funnily enough. But there's kind of a reason for it, which is also a very sort of unique twist on the sort of zombie genre. And where the kind of the Mad Max sort of stuff comes in is that these guys kind of kit themselves up in kind of sort of body armour with kind of hockey masks and stuff like that, and soup up their car. And there is some vehicular combat as well. Now we also have this kind of military presence, and this really is to do with the kind of the main guy's sort of sister, and she's basically kind of kidnapped by this. We assume it's military, but we're never really told that for definite. And they have this kind of crazy doctor that's doing some sort of experiments with them, and basically these two sort of stories sort of dovetail towards the end of the movie to kind of to sort of have their sort of storylines meet up. Now, it's a difficult film to sort of go into without really telling you too much, because I didn't really know much about the plot of this film, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised as things happen in this movie, and sort of characters kind of come in and out when you're kind of not expecting them to a certain degree. So I kind of liked it for that, and for that reason, I'm not going to go too much into the plot. But there's a couple of... Let me get the negatives out of the way. The negatives are... let's talk about the special effects first of all. The actual practical effects are fine, but they do have a little bit of overuse of CGI blood, particularly in the beginning of the film. It's really noticeable. They also use computer effects to have this kind of green mist that sort of comes out of the zombie's mouth. Now, it isn't just an aesthetic choice, there is a kind of reason for it, but nonetheless it does look somewhat computer generated. Not as bad as the blood, to be fair, but as we go through the film, they do use sort of practical effects as well in blood scripts, but certainly in the beginning of the film you'll notice the sort of CG blood. The other kind of main criticism I have of this film is in this sort of the secondary storyline, which basically involves the female lead. She's kind of being held captive by this, we assume they're a military presence, but there's this kind of doctor there, and he's really a cartoon character, and he's way over the top. And we never really explained what he's actually sort of trying to do, so it all becomes a little bit of a head scratcher. So So the main issue I have is his character, and that's kind of part of the story. So I don't like really the way he's portrayed, a bit too kindly, a bit too Looney Tunes. I wouldn't know why people would be following him, and we never really understand what he's actually trying to do when he's kind of doing these sort of different sort of experiments. So that was a kind of a bit of a missed opportunity. However, the positives outweigh the negatives of this film. It's a really fun, very kind of kinetic film. It's got a certain sense of humour. It's a very Australian style sense of humour. Now, I guess being British, I guess it's more along the lines of kind of a similar British sense of humour. I've seen some reviews from Americans, and some don't quite get the kind of the sense of humour in this film somewhat. And it kind of played up to certain Australian stereotypes and things like that I don't know if some people may not quite understand what's going on and really kind of not get some of the kind of the gags that this film does have. It kind of reminds me, the way this movie is filmed, it has a lot of kind of close-ups and kind of zooms It reminds me of Sam Raimi's early work, and also it's influenced by, I think, like Peter Jackson as well. You know, his kind of earlier stuff. So it's got some obvious influences by those guys, and we can kind of tell by the kind of the camera work, the way it kind of is a very sort of fluid camera. It's moving a lot. You know, if you like those kind of early sort of Peter Jackson and Sam Raimi films, you'll probably like this film. The practical effects I thought were very good. The zombies, you know, looked very good. They kind of looked a lot more disfigured rather than just people sort of, you know, with bloody faces. I mean, a personal preference for me, I don't like zombies who physically change for no real reason. To me, it's meant to be decay and things like that. So, you know, we have zombies who change quite a lot, quite quickly. And that's more of a minor bugbear for my personal preference. If someone gets bitten, we'll have them change, you know, into a zombie literally within a couple of minutes. They've got a raised forehead and all that sort of thing. So it's a really fun film. There's loads and loads of kind of kills in this film, loads of unexpected heads being exploded for some, you know, other reasons, and there's some twists in this film that you simply won't see coming. If you avoid the spoilers, you just won't see coming, and it's a very sort of original, fun film. It's kind of a zombie action comedy. I really actually enjoyed it. I was actually recommended this film to for my brother, so I'll give him a shout out. It was a good call. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.